Hi, today we're going to talk about understanding content analysis research studies. And of course, we used our textbook for information about this particular topic. I am Sharon Acoff-Sledge. What is a content analysis research study? It's a systematic, replicable technique for compressing large volume of text into fewer content categories. It can be qualitative, quantitative, or you can use mixed methods, which I think a lot of studies are lending itself toward. Content analysis research study is used to interpret textual, visual, or media data for patterns, themes, or biases. When do we use content analysis research? We use it when we're analyzing communication, so forth, such as a speech or a media interview, maybe a video, a series of videos, something like that. So it's ideal for historical or unobtrusive data studies. So you would be passively looking at this. And it's used to detect patterns, trends, and message framing. So what methodologies do we use in content analysis? Well, we define the unit of analysis: word, phrase, paragraph, theme. Again, here comes coding. Then we code our data and interpret it. And then we choose an inductive or deductive approach to our analysis. What types of coding do we use in content analysis? You can use open coding, where we identify preliminary categories. We could use axial coding, where we connect related categories. Now, we can also use selective coding. Selective coding is where you focus on core categories according to our textbook. Now, we can do our coding manually, or we can use coding software such as NVivo. And there are other coding software, but NVivo is probably the most recognized. Now, what are the advantages of content analysis? Because you are analyzing speeches, videos, interviews, things that someone had already done, it's non-invasive. So we're not actually dealing with human subjects directly, but rather indirectly. It's also ethical because you're not subjecting human subjects to this study. You're studying something passively. And passively means, in my mind, means that I'm looking at a speech, I'm listening to a speech, I'm listening to an interview or watching an interview, and I'm analyzing that, but I'm not directly interviewing that person. And it's applicable to a wide range of content. It allows for longitudinal studies, and it can be used for both quantitative and qualitative or mixed studies. The disadvantages of content analysis, of course, it's time intensive and it's laborious because you're listening to a plethora of information sources and probably across different media types. And so you're going to have to parse that data correctly, code that data correctly. And then too, it is, since we are listening at something that has already happened, there's a risk of subjectivity and bias. There's a risk of that if we were directly interviewing people, but especially with content analysis. And then it requires careful training for coding for coders. I can imagine that coding for this type of analysis would be akin to a nightmare. What kind of populations or situations do we use for content analysis? Student essays or discussion posts, political speeches or debates, curriculum documents and standards, media portrayal of social issues, social media content, What are the popular hashtags, and when certain events happen, what hashtags are created for those events? Comments, memes, those are different things that we could use. Now, so far as what I could do, um, I could look at the representation of racial groups in math textbooks. I can say that from when I began to teach and now, there is a definite trend toward including names across ethnic backgrounds in word problems in my math book. There's still some areas of what types of things that we look at in word problems that we might need a little help with. Analysis of teacher comments on student work. I could look at the content of state level educational policy documents. Um, I could look at the language of job descriptions in STEM fields and microaggressions. I don't want to go into that, but as an African American female math teacher, I encounter those daily, and I don't even think sometimes people realize that they're doing that. But those are different things that I could write. These are the references that I use in this presentation. I appreciate you listening, and I hope that this was helpful and useful to you.